good afternoon, welcome, morning, depending, or evening, depending which part of the world you're actually connecting us from. We truly appreciate your time being actually on this call with us today. So thank you so much for joining us. And so my name is Henry Moyo. For some of you, if you haven't met me or you don't know me, my name is Henry Moyo. So I would love also to, I love to support people who are motivated actually to improve their lives by realizing and releasing themselves from fear. So I'm actually excited to help you remove any fear-related compromises you might be having in your life, so that at least you can experience and achieve your goals that at least you really want to do as well. So this is a great honor for me to be actually sharing also here my story and how I've also gone through some of the techniques that I have used also myself to go through my fears that I have. And it's real for anybody, and everyone feels the fear. But the only difference is that some people feel the fear and they continue to go through it. But some people feel the fear and they stop doing what they need to do. So there have been studies that have shown that at least more than about 20 or so % of the population suffers from anxiety-related disorders that truly affect them in doing so many things in their life. So in other population would experience an overwhelming fear and a dread associated with anxiety at some point of their life. So fear as a concept might seem like a similar sensation that at least you might have, but it's generally considered that anxiety is used to define an ongoing sense of disease or worry about areas of life that may not present themselves immediately threatening to you. So fear is that feel in a scary situation, when you see maybe something, or that you maybe a lion or whatever, you might want to really, your body will react in a certain way to that. So it's a sudden jolting or debilitating reflex response that at least you will actually have to do or when you're in such a situation as well. And anxiety is less noticeable. So it's a recurring and ultimately can prove to be quite a bit more problematic in the way it interferes in your day-to-day life. So these are feelings and fears that at least many people get to feel and get affected by as well. So if you look at the biology of fear, so what happens to your body when you're afraid? To begin with, let's talk about the physical aspect of the emotion of fear that we are all maybe accustomed to experience at one point in our life. So the commonly observed sensation of fear occurs in response to an external stimulus or causes our brain to release a hormone called cortisol. So this hormone, it's actually known maybe as your fight or flight hormone, and it causes our bodies to respond unconsciously and in anticipation of danger or from external sources as well. So from that, this travels to our body into various muscles. So it causes our muscles maybe to tense up or to respond unconsciously or physically, and prepares our body to protect itself from any attack that can happen as well. And also it causes our body to release glucose to the bloodstream, primarily as a way to increase, your energy levels in immediate response to any dangerous situation that at least you might find yourself in. So the trouble with this in today's age is that it's not every stimulus present really danger. It's not every situation that causes us to fear or that causes our bodies to react this way is a dangerous situation, like what you might refer to like in the olden days when people would maybe go through these situations, and they would pose like a real danger to their lives when they will feel this as well. So this is why stress, anxiety, and unprocessed fears can actually be the root of many issues, such as your diabetes, your cardiovascular diseases, and many more diseases like heart pressures as well. It's because of this, our body now responds to this situation in such a way that at least we no longer utilize some of those energies that it is actually producing as well. This is why there was a science I read about when people say, hey, even when they're slaughtering animals like your beef or cow, they don't want them to be afraid. Once it's frightened, that meat is not going to taste good, because the animal is released some of these hormones which prepares it to flight into its whole body. So it makes the meat not even taste very good as well. So the trouble with the fight and flight reflex action in today's society is that the fears have evolved to protect ourselves from. And so where once our ancestors were triggered to run or fight from immediate threatening predators, today's reality is not quite is dangerous. So, but you find that cortisol is released in everyday situations which are not life-threatening. So maybe you might be dreading to attend a meeting, or you might be dreading to meet somebody. So that causes your body to be in that protective mode, and it starts releasing some of these hormones. So the human body has not yet learned to differentiate between the dangers of, say, getting maybe hit by a car or failing an exam. Both of these things elicit the same response. So your body responds in the same way, and so our bodies are now overstimulated and flooded with unnecessary hormones. So the result, unnecessary and unhelpful levels of stress. So you know what is it that we're learning here? So the first is, you need also to first forgive your body for these evolutionary assumptions. And it's not your fault that these responses have become your routine. So the reality behind our fear response is that we must train our minds to react differently. So you have to train your mind to react differently, to notice when you feel anxious, and also to be honest, to look at the situation and then decide if your body's reaction is also justified as well. So we need now to be also in control of our situation that at least we do find ourselves in. So if we follow the guidelines set out in the last post, acknowledge the truth of our fears, noticing them for what they really are, we can begin to differentiate between rational fears versus those which are not. So usually there will be some form of sign letting you to know if your reactions are exaggerated or not. So it's essential to remain aware of your surroundings for this reason. So be conscious of your interactions with others during the period of so-called fear. Are you creating tension where tension is not called for? If you created or notice a shift in the positive energy of the interactions you have used to take for granted. So get curious about your fears. And if you feel comfortable to do so, ask those closer to you to help you identify common patterns. So you really need to study yourself and understand yourself as well. And one thing you might ask yourself, is it within your power or your power to change? The answer is yes. The main problem is that this question often comes up during the power struggle between maintaining and releasing control of fear. You've got the power, you've got the capacity. Our own capacity to change is infinite. So you can change. It's vital that we access this potential if we truly start thriving. So notice sometimes one of the statements or the words that we say, the dialogues that we have on a daily basis. This helps to create a lot of fear as well. When you start saying, hey, am I not capable? I would love to, but I couldn't. That's not for someone like me, and I'm not able. So when you start having such dialogue within yourself as well, we are creating certain situations and reasons that are not the right things for yourself. So you create your own fear as well. So the most important thing to consider when you're seeking to let go of fear is to fully acknowledge it for what it is and how it is formulated in your mind. Only by familiarizing yourself with the fear can you hope to overcome it. So yes, it exists, but you need to accept it and you need to release it. So the more you go through something, the less you become fearful about it. So the first step is to acknowledge the fear, to say, hang on, I've got this fear. Then the next step is to release the control surrounding it. You need to find what's controlling and surrounding it as well. Then you decide which action can be taken to overcome it. And then take this action to make a lasting change. Then then step 5 is put all effort and energy and concern into creating and maintaining that change. I can give you a very simple example how I helped my daughter to go through over her fear. She was just afraid, went on a bike trek. So there are these ramps. So there's a very high rise ramp. So she was afraid to go down by herself. So I saw that at least she's afraid and she has this fear. The only way I could do is first of all, acknowledge that there's fear. Then we say, okay, fine, how are we going to release this fear? So I went up with her on that ramp myself, hold her bike and said, okay, fine, I'm going to hold you. I'm going to walk with you. Let's go down together. So I hold her bike. So initially she was even afraid to go down. She thought maybe I'll just release it. Then I walked down with her. When we were halfway, she is the one now who said, no, Daddy, let go. Then I let her go. She went down. Then the next time she said, okay, let's go, Daddy. She had fun. Went up the top again. Right now, this time when we were at the top, she said, no, Daddy, let me go. So she went down by herself again. The third time, she was now saying, Daddy, watch me. I'm going up again on this ramp by herself. And she was no longer afraid of doing it by herself. So what I'm saying is you need to really acknowledge it and know the fear that exists. So simply writing this down, taking an objective look at the role fear has been playing in your life is the most effective and lasting way to make changes in how you perceive and deal with fear. So you need to really identify what is it that you're afraid of? What is it that you fear? And find ways that at least you can go about it as well. So there are different ways some people deal with it. So I know yoga and meditation, people also do those trends. This is not just maybe a fitness trend. So there's so much that can be gained from practicing yoga and meditation regularly, that the mental health benefits often get forgotten in favor of more immediately visible and obvious physical benefits. So sometimes when you're in that zone where you're in your moment by yourself, so it enables you to have that situation where you really look at it. Because people say fear is false evidence appearing real. So it's often said that depression occurs when you are living in the past. So and fear or anxiety occurs when you try hard to live and predict the future. So be a person now who can live in the now. Live in the now. Because you are in control of the now. You're not in control of the past. The past is already gone. The only thing, if you keep on thinking about the past, is going to lead you into depression. And the future, you're not in control of the future. And if you try to control the future now, you can't do anything about it. This is where it's now creating anxiety and fear to say, if this happens, what next? So this means that living in the now becomes an almost impossible task when you're always thinking in the past and the future. So an impossible task, which is necessary if we are to truly let go of the fear and release ourselves from its grip of God. So we need to start living in the now. So through various practices like meditation, mindfulness, and other creative pursuits, you'll be able to notice a difference in the capacity of the capacity you possess to stay present. So make this a priority as you move forward in your life. Has also proven to be extremely useful in fighting symptoms of other mental and physical health. So be a person who lives in the now, because the now, you can do something about it right now. So you can take action right now. You can't clap somebody tomorrow now. You can't clap somebody tomorrow, but you can clap somebody now. You can lift a chair now. You can do something now. So be a person of the now moment. Get me right. I'm not saying you mustn't plan about your future. You mustn't do something, but you mustn't worry about the future which you have no control about. But yes, take all those necessary measures, necessary things that you need to plan about as well. Another thing is also showing gratitude. Gratitude is a practice that, like meditation and yoga, can have powerful and immediate effect on you. So the areas of the brain which activate during a practice of gratitude are the same places that are associated with the release of dopamine, which the pleasure and happiness center of the brain. So by drawing awareness back into the present moment and away from the perceived fears, stories, and mental meanderings, gratitude is the capacity to bring an anxious and a fearful person from a bout of uncontrolled anxiety back into the present moment and towards the contentment. It really can be that powerful. This fantastic capacity to have both the emotional and physiological response in the body is part of the reason why gratitude is so powerful. It is also around a healing tool for releasing fear, anxiety, and negativity. So you can use this as well when you start showing gratitude towards all the things around you, all the things that at least you have as well. And also sometimes when you put yourself in a state, which some people call the flow state, there's a state of consciousness known as a flow state, which is characterized by periods of intense focus and undistracted concentration on one specific task. So you find that more of your artists, they use this moment when they are being creative, they go into this zone, into this moment, where they call it your flow state. So your mind is got less distraction. You focus on one particular issue that at least you want to deal with as well. And also trust and control your emotions. Sometimes the most effective way to go off fear is simply to let go a little bit and learn how to trust. So it has been proven that fear and anxiety regularly stem from a deeply ingrained need to control our environment or a fear of trusting it. So the reason for this is that anxiety thrives on the possibilities of failure and disaster it finds in every given situation. So even if there is no apparent threats, but you find anxiety will find the worst case scenarios in everything and zoom in on them. So whenever you're looking at, it's only seeing the disaster that, hey, this can happen, this can happen. So while being aware of this is helpful, it's not always not enough to combat the intensity of your fears. So building self-trust is essential for this. We now, we're not just going to go through some of the helpful ways that can actually encourage you to develop maybe trust as well, so that at least you don't, so that you don't really stress yourself. So self-trust is only established through having a real and honest connection to your emotions. So honoring your emotions when they arise or present what and how as they are can be a difficult task. So release the need for others' opinions, approval. Be yourself. So release that need. You don't need anybody's approval to be who you are. Just be yourself. You don't need anybody's approval to be who you are. So many of us seek approval from peers, families, partners, simply for the rush of. So you don't need that. Be yourself. So one thing you must know is you mustn't worry about what other people think about you. People always think anyway. They are already thinking right now about you. So whatever it is, they're already thinking. So you be yourself. So as we honor, so release the need for others' opinion and identify this kind of pattern can be hard to admit, but you ultimately strengthen your resolve in the long term. So as we honor our feelings, be it crying when we're sad, or expressing gratitude when we're grateful, and also allowing an emotion of admiration to surface about someone we love. So yes, admire somebody at least we love. We create a safe space for that emotion to exist. So reducing the resistance around it creates a nurturing space for that emotion. So just as we are to cultivate a safe space to nurture a child, our feelings must be acknowledged, supported, and given the opportunity to grow. So by doing this, we can begin to allow problematic emotions to begin the journey towards moving past them. In terms of fear, often just acknowledging the presence of fear is enough to lessen its intensity. So by you acknowledging it, to say, hang on, I'm afraid of this, and it lessens its intensity or its impact on you. So how many of you, are guilty of feeling a fearful silence with excited, irrational speech or actions which don't actually lend themselves to your goals? They neither fulfill your desires, nor do they solve or support your fears. So sometimes sitting in silence with anxiety and fear can prove one of the most daunting tasks in the world. And this is precisely why it is so also important. By allowing fear to settle, allow the fear to settle, and it becomes clear in our minds, and we can now more easily put things in place to combat it. So you need to fully acknowledge it, let it settle in, and say, hang on, this is the situation that at least we're in. Is this real or this is imaginary? Then you can now be able to deal with it. This is not an invitation to block it out and ignore it. So the opposite is in fact true. Stillness forces us to deal with fears and start from a place of stable awareness to change them. So you need to be in a very stable state. And also, when you are stable and you're not afraid, you're able to think in a very irrational way. So they say when your emotions are high, your IQ also becomes down. Whether you're sad, you're afraid, or whatever, your IQ becomes down. Check some of the things that you've done and you end up regretting them. Check at what moment you were. It's either you were too excited or you were afraid, or whatever situation you were in. So imagine be in a stable state to deal with whatever you want to deal with. So also the practice of mindfulness involves remaining present and mindful in the present, no matter what the situation around us. So this is easier said than done, especially if we are used to letting the monkey mind take over and lead the way instead of sitting with emotions like fear and anxiety. You will find, however, that by mere returning to yourself, to the moment, and ensuring you remain present instead of drifting into imaginary thoughts like your what ifs, you will begin to see your fears in a different light. So most of these what if this happens, what if this happens, it gets you into that state as well of being afraid. So try maybe the following steps. So you notice the way your body might react physically to external triggers. Figuring out our triggers in this way may be crucial in gaining the freedom from fear and anxiety we all seek. So notice the small things around you, beauty in nature, sounds in the distance, or basic body sensations we usually take for granted. This is mindfulness. This is becoming present. By doing these things, we become able to turn our fears into beneficial surges of energy, which can be used actually to our to our advantage. And we've already also discussed the benefits of your meditation, and also loving kindness and meditation exactly what you'd expect to be. So it's a way of fast directing attention and awareness back towards a part of us which is compromised predominantly of love, kindness, and acceptance instead of fear. And also stop indulging in your fear. It's funny how we tend to indulge in the things that least serve us. So when it comes to fears, letting the imagination run away with us and staying in a negative cycle of fear, indulging habits, is the main issue we find ourselves stuck in quite often. So when you observe an emotion, fear or a sensation, it's up to you how to deal with it. So indulging in the sensation will strengthen it, allowing it more time and energy when you know it's damaging probably the worst thing you can do right now. So myself, when I start thinking, hey, what I'm thinking is not going to serve me, I try to think something completely different. So the hardest part of this is that the only way through is to be strong and not to let thoughts take charge. So take note, when you start feeling fear or anxiety, ignore it. Choose another outlet for it to be expressed and to let the fear go off you. So don't allow it to remain, because that's not real. So I want you to understand there's a difference. For me to fear something that has not happened, I can start maybe if I go on the road, maybe I might be hit by a car. That's imaginary. But if I see a lion there in front of me, that's real danger. That's real fear. You need to run or take action. But some of these things that are not fact and real, you need to ignore it and see what happens. Nothing is going to happen to you. All the things right now, if I'm to ask you to sit down and write down all the things that you fear, you will find most of them, they've not happened or they are not going to happen. It's you who is just imagining them. So this is why you say ignore such things. 99% of the time, they never happen. But please don't see when you see a car and you're in danger and then you say, ignore it. That's not what we're saying. There are certain things when it's real, take appropriate action. Don't ignore. So many of us allow fear to dictate important decisions. We long for the clarity to know exactly what the outcome of everything will be, resisting to take action until the right time presents itself. So unfortunately, this is very often leads to the indulgence of fears and lack of action in many people's areas of life. Many people are looking for the right time. Just like right now, many people are saying, I'm waiting for the pandemic to change. I'm waiting for this to change. You know what? Or what if this happens and everything. People are trying to predict the future, which none of us have got in control. The reality is that the right time may never actually occur. And waiting for it might end up in postponing our lives in prolonging states of suffering that really we need not to endure. So in short, waiting for the right time means that fear wins. So don't allow fear to win in your life. Do you want this to happen? If you are serious about combating fear and releasing yourself from anxiety, it's time to take action to act against the limiting beliefs. And you need to take action today. So, and also for you to be able to do this, you need to look at the root causes. What are the root causes? You find that now in modern ways that they're now approaching in dealing with most of these diseases now, people they no longer want to treat the symptoms. They want to look at the real cause or the root cause of the problem. Because when you get rid of the root cause, you get rid of that problem for good. So the same goes for fear. You can't possibly hope to remove your fears for good without doing a little bit of inner work and seeking to acknowledge what might not be the reason or the origin of the beliefs behind it all. So you really need to go deeper to be able to deal with this as well. So expressing emotion doesn't come easy to everyone. So emotional intelligence and the language of emotions refer to becoming skillful and aware in a way that we express our emotions on a regular basis. So how often have you heard phrases like, "Oh, I'm just stressed out. Oh, I'm just really tired." And these are used to cover up sensations of fear, anxiety, and other real related issues. So one thing to use these words as an excuse not to talk about the root causes of the issue, and it's another thing to entirely believe them as fact. So how often, so becoming emotionally literate is vital if we are to begin to take control of our emotional state and let emotions no longer serve us, like fear. Quite often, it's not a case of emotional illiteracy, merely that many of us require a safe space in which to express these feelings. So there's so many things you can actually read on and search on the internet as well on how to deal with this, and also to let go of the fear that at least you might be having as well. So letting go truly is the only way to access unlimited contentment and satisfaction in life. Whether it's fear, anger, love, hate, or any of these intense emotions can be hugely impacted or cultivated ability to let go. So letting go doesn't mean ignoring your difficult emotions. Letting go involves an intricate process of looking, acknowledging, accepting, and moving through your difficulty, or to truly process it and assimilated and important life lessons you will undoubtedly learn from it. So you need to go through the fears. You need to go through them. There's no way you can go over it. So accept it, acknowledge it, and go through it and let it go. So the more you go, you repeat it, the more that thing will no longer be afraid of it as well. So when it comes to fear, the process might differ slightly from those involved in letting go. Say maybe requested love or even maybe grief, and each person within this fear will vary too. So each people deal with things differently. Sometimes it may seem like the most reckless thing to do, but ultimately letting go helps us to cultivate a sense of inner strength in ourselves and trust in the world, which then allows our greatness to manifest as well. So I would encourage you to say you need to do something, you need to take action, you need to acknowledge, and you need to be able to let go the fears that at least you do have that might be in control of your life. I hope at least this session has helped you to identify and has helped you to find ways to deal with some of the fears that at least you might have as well. So do not back down, do not run away, go face the fears that at least you do have. Whatever it takes you to go through them. And myself, what I've done in some of the things, I've actually looked, I downloaded what to call the certain app in the Bible called the U version. You can download it. You can actually say, hey, how do I deal with fear? How do I deal with anxiety? It also gives you certain biblical verses that can help you to understand where fear is coming from, how to deal it in a biblical way. So the solutions are actually there. So meditate, think about it. Don't back down. Don't be afraid. Face the fear and go through it. All the people that you see who are successful or whom you think they're not afraid, ask them. They will tell you at one moment they were afraid, but they kept on pushing themselves until they're no longer afraid. Even myself, I was afraid to speak to people. I was afraid to talk in front of people, but I kept on pushing myself, finding people around me who can support me and encourage me to go through my fears. And that's what I did. And that has helped me to be where I am right now. So thank you so much for being on the call. You can go and join us on our website as well, and www.henrymoyo.net. There are so many resources that you can find out there, some of them which you can actually subscribe to our email series, where you can get some of this content straight into your inbox, so you can read it at your own time, at your own specific time. If you've got any specific topic or area, or if you want to attend any of our trainings as well, we would love to help you, where we can do some of these days where we can actually be in a more interactive way, where we can actually help you to go through some of these challenges that you do face in your day-to-day lives. So thank you so much for being part of this call. I look forward to seeing you on our next one, where we are covering and dealing with the imposter syndrome. Many people suffer from the imposter syndrome. So we're going to be covering that as well in our next session. So I look forward to hold you to be yourself, to live your life, and be free from anything, so that you become the best version of yourself. That's our goal. That's our desire. So thank you so much for being on this call. I truly appreciate you. God bless you.